You ever see a team melt down before week 1 even kicks off? Well, buckle up, because the Cleveland Browns just went full soap opera, and the NFL might have to start handing out subpoenas instead of playbooks. It all started with a preseason matchup against the Rams, just another glorified scrimmage, right? Wrong. This was supposed to be the big debut for Shedeur Sanders, the hyped rookie quarterback with a famous last name and a growing legion of fans. Everyone tuned in to see if the kid could bring some electricity to a Browns team that's been stuck in mediocrity for what feels like a century.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Instead, crickets. Literally. No Shedeur. Barely a snap. The camera would pan to him on the sideline, helmet on, fully suited up, but watching the game like the rest of us. And just like that, a quiet grumble turned into a full-blown conspiracy theory that cracked open the gates of football hell. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a bad coaching decision. This wasn't just Stefanski going with the vet or playing it safe. This smelled off. Like sabotage level off. The game itself was a disaster. The Browns played like they'd been introduced to football 5 minutes before kickoff. Joe Flacco, yes, Joe's still here. Flacco was out there chucking wobbly passes while the offense stalled harder than a 2003 Honda in a snowstorm. Fans were already confused. But when it became obvious that Shedeur wasn't getting in, the confusion turned to fury. Because here's what the league and the internet started to notice. Ratings plummeted. What was supposed to be a 4.5 million viewer preseason spotlight collapsed into a paltry 200,000 by halftime. That's not just bad, that's cataclysmic. We're talking full-scale emergency mode at the networks. Execs were on phones, sponsors were fidgety, and Shedeur's name started trending, not because he did something, but because he didn't even get the chance. And then came the bombshell. Sources close to the organization claimed that Stefanski intentionally kept Shedeur off the field, despite direct orders from Browns ownership to showcase him. Allegedly, internal emails and texts, yes, actual receipts, hinted at disagreements between the coaching staff and upper management. Stefanski wanted to go with the veteran, the safe hands. Ownership wanted to build a new era around Shedeur. What they got instead was a public implosion. Now, normally, this kind of drama gets swept under the rug. But this time, the NFL got involved. The NFL. Investigators started digging, not just into coaching decisions, but into possible contract tampering, sabotage, and, get this, revenue interference. Like, when was the last time you heard of a league office pulling practice tapes and text messages for a preseason snub? That's not just overkill. That's DEFCON 1. And it gets messy, eh? Turns out, the locker room isn't exactly Team Stefanski right now. Reports say some players were visibly frustrated with the play calling and quarterback rotation. Others, anonymously of course, said the coaching staff was divided. Half wanted to give Shedeur the reins. The other half? Still holding out hope that Flacco's 2012 Super Bowl magic would somehow resurrect itself in Cleveland, 13 years and 3 teams later. So what's going on behind the scenes? Think Game of Thrones, but for offensive coordinators. A faction of staffers reportedly sees Shedeur as a distraction, not ready, or too much of a brand. Another faction sees him as the future, the spark, the only chance to make the Browns relevant again. But instead of working it out in meetings, it's been festering in passive-aggressive sideline tension and leaked text messages. And let's not forget the fans. Oh, they noticed. The Browns subreddit turned into a digital bonfire. Twitter/X was flooded with hashtags like #FreeShedeur and #FireStefanski. Okay, not using hashtags here, but you get the vibe. Memes of Stefanski photoshopped into a saboteur or a Bond villain started making the rounds. People even started circulating fake trade rumors just to stir the pot. Then came the money. When the NFL starts to see sponsors hesitate, when ad revenue drops, when networks call emergency meetings to figure out what the hell just happened, you know it's serious. Some execs allegedly told league officials that Stefanski's decision wasn't just bad football, it was bad business. With Shedeur comes attention, viewers, merchandise sales, even crossover appeal with younger audiences and fans of his dad, Coach Prime. Keeping him on the bench might as well set fire to a pile of $100 bills in the middle of the stadium. So now the league is sniffing around every corner, looking at game film, pulling chat logs, listening to audio from headsets during the Rams game, all to determine whether this was just a bad call or a calculated move to keep Shedeur sidelined, neuter his development, and maintain some kind of internal power structure that the Browns clearly can't even define. And guess what? Week 1 is coming. Fast. The Browns are set to face the Bengals in every single decision. Who starts, who sits, who gets pulled after one bad drive, is going to be watched like a live episode of Hard Knocks crossed with CSI. Berea, Ohio. If Shedeur starts, it's a win for the fans, but an admission that something shady happened before. If he doesn't, get ready for another ratings nosedive and a potential coaching staff exodus by Halloween. The Browns don't just have to win, they have to look functional, unified, strategic, like a team, not a courtroom drama. But here's the kicker. This whole mess might set a new precedent. The NFL stepping in because a team's internal drama is affecting revenue? That's new. We're talking possible fines, draft penalties, forced staff changes, maybe even a league-mandated consultant to keep things aligned. Think NFL meets HR department. If that doesn't scream disaster, I don't know what does. So where does that leave Kevin Stefanski? On very, very thin ice. Sure, he's got defenders. People will say he was trying to protect Shedeur, not sabotage him. That throwing a rookie into the fire against NFL-caliber defenses too early can ruin a career. That Shedeur needs time, growth, development. Fair enough. But when your entire franchise hinges on a single player, and you go out of your way to not use him in a nationally televised game, that's not strategy. That's self-sabotage. Or worse, political infighting disguised as coaching. And the Browns? They're now a cautionary tale. A team that couldn't get out of its own way. That finally had a moment of promise, a new star, a fresh start, and immediately found a way to torch it in front of the world. Shedeur didn't need to throw a single pick to have his stock drop. His own coaching staff did that for him. So now we wait for Week 1, for the investigation results, for the next internal leak to hit Twitter, and for anyone, to take control of this flaming clown car of a situation before it swerves off a cliff. Because the NFL isn't just watching, they're keeping score. And the Browns? They're already behind. If nothing else, at least give Kevin Stefanski this week's prestigious Gaslighter of the Gridiron Award for managing to turn a preseason opportunity into a league-wide scandal. Will the Browns turn around? Will Shedeur finally get a shot? Or will this all end with an emergency press conference and a suspicious resignation? Sound off in the comments. Let us know who you're blaming for this mess. And don't forget to subscribe for more celebrity-style meltdowns from the world of sports, fame, and general chaos. Because in the NFL, drama isn't a side effect. It's a feature. Oh, you thought the drama was over? No. We're only halfway through this gridiron soap opera. You see, once the NFL starts poking around with subpoenas and digital forensics, it doesn't just stop at one scandal. It spirals. It always spirals. And what started as a sideline snub has now cracked open a Pandora's box of dysfunction inside the Cleveland Browns organization. Let's talk internal politics. Because what's happening in Berea isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a full-blown power struggle. You've got ownership, coaching, scouting, and PR all pulling in different directions, like four kids in a trench coat trying to steer a tank. Nobody's on the same page, and the result? Chaos disguised as football strategy. Insiders say Stefanski has been butting heads with front office personnel for months about the quarterback situation. Even before Shedeur was drafted, there were whispers that Stefanski wasn't on board. He allegedly wanted a different style of QB, someone pro-ready, someone easier to mold. Translation? Someone he could control. But ownership? Ownership saw the dollar signs, the hype, the potential to finally build a brand that didn't revolve around losing records and seasonal heartbreak. So when they went all in on Shedeur Sanders, the expectation was clear. He's the guy. Not in 5 years. Now, he's the new face. He's the highlight reel. He's the one who'll sell jerseys, get media attention, and maybe, drag this cursed franchise into relevance. But Stefanski? He wasn't convinced. And now, after this whole Rams game fallout, people are starting to wonder if he's been slow-playing Shedeur on purpose. Giving him just enough reps in camp to look involved, but not enough to actually lead. Keeping him close enough to appease ownership, but far enough away to tank his chances without looking too obvious. Classic corporate sabotage. But make it NFL. And this is where things get messy. Because the NFL investigation isn't just looking at game film or coaching logs. They're digging into the stuff that really tells the story. Internal communications, emails, Slack messages, even text chains between assistant coaches. The league wants to know if there was an intentional effort to limit Shedeur's opportunities. Because if there was, that's not just bad optics, it's a violation of league conduct. And we haven't even gotten to the sponsors yet. Let's paint a picture. You're a corporate sponsor. You've paid millions to have your brand attached to Browns games. Maybe you even did a little welcome to the league Shedeur campaign. You planned for press coverage, jersey sales, maybe even a couple of viral TikToks. And then the kid gets benched? During the most hyped game of the preseason? You're calling your account rep immediately. And now, those calls are reportedly making their way to the league office. Some sponsors are threatening to pull funding unless there's a resolution. Others want to renegotiate contracts. And the Browns? They're suddenly finding out that when you mess with the money, the consequences aren't just angry tweets, they're legal. And speaking of legal, oh boy, there's chatter, unconfirmed but very loud chatter, that Shedeur's camp is considering legal options if this continues. Not to demand playing time, because technically, coaches can play whoever they want, but for contract interference. If someone in the organization deliberately blocked opportunities that could impact Shedeur's career earnings, endorsements, or development, that opens the door to a whole different level of fire. Now, does this mean Shedeur himself is about to sue the team? Probably not. That would be nuclear. But you better believe his agents are gathering receipts. They're watching the investigation. They're taking notes. And if things don't shift quickly, the gloves could come off. Meanwhile, the locker room is basically one awkward team meeting away from mutiny. Veteran players are apparently divided. Some are sticking with Stefanski, citing loyalty, respect, the usual coach speak. Others are fuming. One source even claimed that after the Rams game, several offensive players confronted a position coach asking why Shedeur wasn't given a single meaningful drive. These are grown men risking injury every snap, and when they see dysfunction at the top, morale craters. And don't even get started on the fan base. Cleveland fans are used to pain. They've had heartbreak bottled and served cold since the 80s. But this feels different. This feels intentional. You can almost hear the collective scream through Ohio. We finally get a promising young quarterback. And you sabotage this too. It's insult after injury after insult. The subreddit has basically turned into a digital protest. Reddit users analyzing snap counts like they're decoding CIA files. Fans calling for boycotts. Memes of Stefanski in a hoodie labeled QB hater in chief. One guy even started a fake Kickstarter to buy the Browns and fire everyone. It got actual donations. And the noise isn't dying down. It's growing. Especially now that the NFL has confirmed they're still actively reviewing evidence. This isn't a PR stunt. It's a real investigation. And every day that passes without clarity makes the Browns look worse. Which brings us to the present. A team teetering on the edge of meltdown, entering week 1 with more eyeballs than ever. And not for the right reasons. The Bengals are coming. And if Stefanski trots Flacco out there for the opening snap, you might hear the boos from space. But if he starts Shedeur, that's its own kind of chaos. Because it means the fans won. And ownership overruled the coach. It means Stefanski is on borrowed time. It means every incomplete pass Shedeur throws will be used as evidence by the Stefanski loyalists to say, see, told you so. No matter what happens, Someone's getting thrown under the bus. If Shedeur lights it up, Stefanski's gone by Thanksgiving. If he struggles, the ownership looks reckless. If the Browns lose badly, the locker room cracks open like an overripe avocado. And if they win somehow, great. That just delays the implosion until week 2. There's no good outcome, just different flavors of bad. And that's what makes this whole thing so deliciously disastrous. Because only the Browns could turn a promising rookie debut into an NFL-level scandal involving sabotage, revenue collapse, and the very real possibility of league intervention on coaching decisions. This isn't just a meltdown. It's a franchise identity crisis playing out in real time, on national television, under the glare of legal scrutiny and a fan base that's about one bad pass away from snapping. So where do we go from here? Well, the Browns have to pick a direction, and fast. They can't keep pretending this is normal. They can't throw Shedeur in cold without admitting they mishandled him. And they definitely can't bench him again without risking full-on revolt from fans and maybe even their own investors. The locker room needs answers. The coaches need unity. The front office needs to stop leaking like a Reddit moderator with a grudge. And Kevin Stefanski? He needs to decide if he's going to fight this out or pack his playbook and call it a season. Because like it or not, Shedeur Sanders is the story now. Every snap, every throw, every non-appearance will be dissected. The Browns wanted relevance? Well, congrats. You got it. But not the kind that builds dynasties. The kind that crashes headlines and ends tenures. So in closing, let's raise a very sarcastic toast to the Cleveland Browns for once again proving that no amount of talent can save a team from its own internal chaos. And let's give them one more prestigious honor, the preseason Drama MVP Award, for delivering more narrative in one exhibition game than most franchises manage in a year. Oh, you're still here? Good, because the Browns saga is nowhere near finished. If you thought the Shedeur Stefanski debacle was peaking with that preseason implosion, let me assure you, we're still climbing the roller coaster. And it's starting to rattle. At this point, the question isn't even about who starts under center. It's about whether this franchise can survive another internal collapse without becoming a cautionary tale in every how not to run a team lecture for the next decade. Let's zoom in on Kevin Stefanski, because while Shedeur Sanders has somehow become the symbol of hope and controversy in the same breath, it's Stefanski who's quietly unraveling behind the curtain. Sources, again unofficial but way too consistent to ignore, say the coach has gone into lockdown mode. Meetings are closed. Sideline access has been tightened. Media appearances canceled or postponed. And when he does talk, it's a masterclass in vague. Lots of "we're evaluating," he's developing, "we believe in our system." Translation? Don't look at me. I swear I didn't bench the future of the franchise for personal reasons. But here's the thing. When you have to say that, the damage is already done. And then you have this weird Cold War energy seeping into the rest of the staff. Assistant coaches are now allegedly being told to stay on message in interviews. PR is working overtime to shift the narrative towards strategic pacing and season-long development. And it would almost be convincing if there weren't a literal NFL probe investigating whether that strategy is just a very fancy way of saying intentional sabotage. Oh, and can we talk about Joe Flacco for a second? The man is a Super Bowl champion. No shade. But this is not the hero's journey anyone asked for in 2025. This is the football equivalent of rebooting a movie nobody saw the first time. He's become the reluctant symbol of Stefanski's old-school loyalty complex. Because while Flacco didn't ask for any of this chaos, he's smack in the middle of it. And every time he trots onto the field, it's like pouring salt into a city-wide wound. The crowd doesn't see a veteran trying to lead. They see a blockade. A walking monument to the front office's inability to get its act together. Every incomplete pass is met with groans that could shake the rust off the dog pound bleachers. Every touchdown? Yeah, it's met with polite applause and 100,000 people muttering, "Cool, but where's Shedeur?" And poor Shedeur. He's still playing it cool, at least in public. The man has been nothing short of professional. No Twitter rants. No cryptic subtweets. No passive-aggressive interviews. Just helmet on, eyes focused, camera catching him nodding like a stoic knight watching a battle he's not allowed to join. But behind the scenes, you already know the frustration is boiling. His reps are calling. His endorsements are watching. His peers, other rookies who are getting chances, are texting him like, "Bro, what is happening over there?" It's not just about playing time anymore. It's about respect, about reputation, about being drafted as the centerpiece of a rebuild and then getting parked on the sideline like an unused prop. This isn't how careers are supposed to start. This is how they stall. And let's be honest, it doesn't help that Shedeur came in with legacy pressure. When your dad is Deion Sanders, when your name already carries the weight of expectation, you don't get to quietly warm the bench while a franchise implodes around you. Every game he doesn't play is a headline. Every pass he doesn't throw is a stat line fans invent in their heads, hoping it's better than whatever just happened on the field. So here's the final thought for today's absolute fever dream of a situation. If you build your franchise around potential, don't be shocked when that potential turns into pressure. And if you ignore that pressure, don't be surprised when it turns into collapse.